Welcome back, peeps. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is blessed. Yes, this is my new show, my new segment called G's Journal. So after Liverpool games, what I'm trying to do, I'm going to try and do it for every game. I can't make any promises just because of when Liverpool play their matches during the season. So I could be busy, but I'm aiming to try and do a little tactical review, kind of the game, just anything that I saw that was great or anything that I saw that wasn't, so great. So obviously today we're taking a look at Liverpool's preseason game that they played earlier on today. Ended up winning 3-1. Goals from Trey, who else scored? Rio scored, and Florian Wirtz got a goal as well. So all in all, got the victory in the end. And we round off that tour, and then we come back to the UK to then face off against Athletic Bilbao? And I think that is a double header, I believe. Yes, it's a double header. So yeah, we'll obviously try and review that game as well. But obviously, let's focus on the game that was earlier on today. You guys can kind of see if you looked at the thumbnail, you can kind of see that where my focus is going to kind of be in regards to what I want to, kind of talk about in today's game. And obviously, you've got the two players here, Rio and Trey. I think these are two really, really, really good young players. There's been a lot of talk, and I see quite a lot of people speaking about, players being ready, and that in itself is a conversation, right? Because everyone's got their own opinions, everyone's got difference of opinion in terms of what they deem to be ready, when you should throw players in, how much minutes should a player get, how many times should they play, do we even feel like they're ready? And forget even all of that, or push that to the side for a sec. You then got to look at the manager. Does the manager believe that these players are actually ready? So there is quite a lot to kind of unpack when it does come to young players, and I get it, I totally understand it, but just basing it obviously off today's game, but what I've seen of these two players, Rio and Trey, especially Rio, in the last, would we say, what, probably 6 months, would we probably say, kind of, or let's just say through the season, you can see he's grown in stature. First and foremost, obviously, he's gotten taller. It looks like he's got a bit more size about him, but also just in the way that he plays, he doesn't seem to have lost anything about him, in terms of what makes him such a good player. Why is Rio? Why was Chelsea fans, annoyed at the fact that Liverpool were able to actually, go ahead and sign him? And you're starting to see quite a lot of it. I mean, we've seen it in glimpses, and anybody who's played football, but not even just that, anybody who's watched football for a long time, there is a massive difference between academy and obviously first team. My worry with Rio, and probably still a bit of a worry, was always how can he translate what he does in the academy or under 21 setup to then first team football? Is he going to be allowed the freedom to be able to express himself? And so far, I mean, it's only preseason. You can only do as good as you can do, and it's more about the fitness and getting yourself ready for the season. But from what we've seen, he looks like that's going to be a very seamless transition for him. And I'm looking at the way he plays, and I said it on the stream, and I'll say it again. What he reminds me of, and I know I do not think he's of this level, but what he reminds me of is a Kvaratskhelia, someone who can go in or out, can shoot with both left and right, but is very clean with it. I would have used Dembele, but Dembele, I think, is genuinely both-footed, i.e., he can dribble with both feet, take corners, free kicks, both feet, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if Rio's there, and I don't think Kvaratskhelia is really there like that. I just think that they're very comfortable in certain situations, i.e., if they need to chop, if they need to again shoot, get a shot off and stuff like that. I feel like they can do that in those maybe tighter spaces, as opposed to a Dembele, who I feel it doesn't really matter the situation. He can go both feet, and it really doesn't. You really don't know where to kind of go in, out, left, right. You don't really know. But when I look at someone like Rio, that's the kind of player that he reminds me of. Again, he's got a long time until he can get to that kind of level. But listen, he's on the right tracks at this current moment in time. And it's just interesting watching him, obviously, in the game earlier on today. When he kind of came on, it just got exciting. I'll be honest with you. The crowd, you can hear them, the way that they were just cheering his every touch. Every time he got the ball, he just looked like a threat. But this isn't even just this game. And I know we're focusing on this game, but it's not even just about this game. It's the previous games that I've seen him play, even on his debut, playing in that, against, grown professionals. It does not look phased whatsoever. And I think that is going to be something that he's going to need to take with him moving forward. Now, obviously, the conversation, and we can talk about that with Trey as well, but the conversation is always centered around, oh, but if he's too young, we need to bed him in. And I understand that to a certain degree, but then there is a thing of, at what point do you then throw him in? Kind of thing, especially in a position that at this moment in time, Liverpool are not really blessed with. We've only got Cody Gakpo and obviously Rio to play there. Again, everybody else is the Chiesas, the Hugos. They're not left wingers. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have to do square pegs, round holes with these kind of. But even if you signed Isak, I'm still looking at that left wing and thinking, well, it's only then Gakpo who can play on that side, who's comfortable playing on that side. The others are not comfortable, but you can make it work in some way, shape, or form. Rio is definitely, in my opinion, should be considered anyway as an option at the bare minimum. I'm not saying, I mean, I would love for him to start, but I'm not even necessarily saying, yeah, throw him in straight away, first game of the season. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying, if you don't go out and sign someone to specifically play there, and the name obviously being thrown about quite a lot recently has been Rodrigo, why can't Rio play? Do you know, at what point do we then just say he is ready to play? At some point, we have to just allow him to play football. And I think maybe this might be the season. He might, again, I'm not asking for him. Obviously, if Gakpo's out of form and Rio just takes it, then no problem. Then that's what you kind of want. We want to have the best players playing at all times. Whether Rio is that player, we don't know until we actually see it. Will we see it more this season? I hope so. But of course, we'd have to wait and see, in regards to that. But he got a really, really good goal. And like I said, he was absolutely threatening. He was, in my opinion, he was the best player on the pitch for Liverpool anyway. And he only played about 20 odd minutes. So that kind of tells you something. Trey is another one I look at and I think to myself, Trey is a fantastic player. He's definitely someone I look at and think, I'm always looking for midfielders. Everyone knows that's what my summer, that's what I want from this summer in terms of like my wish list. Trey is a neat midfielder, box to box, can play further forward, can put him in those deep areas, still looks comfortable, can still play some football. I like Trey a lot. Do you know what I mean? Trey, I think, is a magnificent young player. And him and Rio are the two players that I look at this current moment in time. And I say, if you're looking at players coming through, they're the closest. They're the only ones I look at and think you can put them in the first team. And I don't think the quality is going to drop that much because they're that good. But we just have to, allow them to play. It's all well and good. Everyone talks about you have so many games in a season. Again, that is all a myth. It is all a myth. You have a certain amount, I've said this before, you have a certain amount of guaranteed games a season. That's it. Everyone says, oh, you could play 60, 70 games. No, that's not guaranteed at all. Liverpool could get knocked out in the Champions League, then what? Knocked out in the Carabao Cup, then what? Knocked out in the FA Cup, then what? Now you've gone from, that's in itself, what's that, 8 games plus the 1, 2, so that's 10 games. That's 10 games that you're guaranteed to play there, plus the 38. So really, it's about 48 games that you're guaranteed for a Champions League, obviously, team, right? That's 48 games. So when people say 60s, 70s, and, we're touching however many games, no, they're not guaranteed. So players have got to look at it and think, do you know what I mean? Like, I've got to hope that we can get through in these rounds of the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and all these kind of things, and then still to know that when we get to the final, I'm probably not going to play. Like, there's not that many games, people. Again, you're banking on injuries. You're banking on someone having a severe lack of foot. Like, there's too much going on. For me, if you're good enough, I think you're old enough. I've not got a problem with either one of those two players starting off the season or just having a bit more game time. Probably even more Trey than Rio, because Trey's been in and around that first team just that little bit longer. Obviously arrived before someone like Rio. So those are the kind of two when I look at them, and I think today's performance, or the performance this morning, thought was really, really good. I thought they actually just spiced up the game a bit because, yeah, the game in itself I felt was really, really boring, but we'll get onto that in a second. But yeah, in terms of those two, those are kind of the two kind of points I wanted to kind of make. Now, the other point I wanted to talk about was obviously Liverpool's midfield. Now, we've spoken about this quite a lot. We don't know what Liverpool's midfield is going to look like. I mean, Florian Wirtz isn't even in this picture, to be honest with you, but let's add him in there as well. You got Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, Endo, Elliott, Curtis Jones, obviously currently in there. Again, Elliott may leave, potentially, we don't know, but just as of right now, this is what we've got. And then, of course, add in Florian Wirtz and Trey as well. What our best three is, I mean, I don't know. I feel that you have to have Szoboszlai in there for the balance And if I'm talking about the type of midfielder I would like to see for Liverpool, I think it would be Curtis Jones. And from what we saw again a little bit today, the link up, the kind of connection between a Jones and a Florian Wirtz, I think that would be really good for Liverpool in terms of one, for their build-up play, but also in that final third. Liverpool still look very messy in that final third. And again, this is my first preseason game. Didn't watch the other games, so I don't know what that kind of looked like. But when I'm just looking at it today, I was like, yeah, it still looks very messy. It still looks very not really pleasing on the eye. Liverpool again only look good in transitions, but we know that Liverpool can do that. I thought when Liverpool started signing some of these players, I thought that meant that we were going to play a bit differently. Maybe we're not going to do that, and if that's the case, then that's the case. Arne Slot, he's the manager; he makes those kind of choices. But for me personally, yeah, I would like to see better football, and at the moment, I'm not really seeing it. But there was a little bit of a link up, in my opinion, anyway, with Curtis Jones and Florian Wirtz. So again, it's a conundrum, and it's a good conundrum, of course, if you don't know who's necessarily the best. And we're not; these guys are not shit players. As much as I might not put them on a high pedestal, they're not shit players. They're good players, all of them. You know, they all offer something a little bit different. So yeah, it's a good conundrum for the manager to have. But of course, we'd have to, we just have to wait and see. We just have to kind of wait and see as to what Arne Slot wants to do, especially heading into that, first game of the season. But yeah, in general, I think one of the things that annoyed me was Liverpool, the build-up play, the slow football, the boring passing side to side. Give it to Van Dijk. He plays the Hail Mary to Salah. Salah does a fantastic touch. Everybody gets excited and all of that. For me, I'm just like, bro, I'm so over that, man. Again, I can't complain if that's what gets us to win, but just in terms of just as a watch, yeah, it's such an eyesore. It is, yeah. That first half for me, yeah, to me the first half wasn't that good. I'll be honest with you. Caught out at the back, the midfield. Was there a midfield? I feel like I'm always asking this question: where is the midfield? But then there's always an excuse. Like, I don't know what, there's always an excuse. People always, I saw it on the timeline. I see people saying it in chats. Yeah, the picture's so bad. I'm like, nah, that doesn't mean then that there's no midfield. You know what I mean? So we're both playing on the same pitch, but for some reason, our midfield looks dead and they're cutting through us. They're getting in our back, into the back line. I just feel like there's always an excuse as to why that is. And for me, I just think it's personnel. Because what we saw then in the second half is the backline wasn't really getting troubled as much. But now you had the individual quality that I feel, or the freedom of expression from some of the players to kind of do what they're really good at. So the Curtis Jones is in there. Florian Wirtz played a little bit of that. Trey obviously coming in there. Harvey coming in there. A bit more ball players, technical ability. Once you kind of throw that in there, I'm like, oh, okay, it makes a bit of sense as to what he's trying to do. That's why I'm always calm with Arne Slot, and I've not got onto him or anything, because I'm like, I can almost see what you're trying to do. You just need the personnel to do it. I don't believe he has that current personnel at this moment in time. And I keep saying it. Liverpool need to sign a midfielder. It doesn't matter if it's a DM, a central midfielder. It really doesn't make a difference. You just need to buy a midfielder. I'm telling you now, sign that midfielder. It will help with the first phase, the second phase, the third phase, build up, every connector, whatever. We just need that. And I'm watching Liverpool, especially today, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. As much as I like Szoboszlai, I like what he brings to the team. And if we didn't sign a midfielder, he's going to be in there anyway. But I'm just like, none of these guys can dictate tempo. None of these guys, are players that I'm looking at and I'm thinking, I need control. Who's controlling the midfield? I just don't see anybody really doing that, to the point where Florian Wirtz is dropping so deep. You have to kind of leave, obviously, Salah up there now, just for the sheer numbers, in itself. But he's dropping so deep. So now, where he's dropping deep and he's good at, kind of playing through and, bringing the ball forward kind of thing. If that ball doesn't get punched into him, or he has a few, shabby touches, like he did, by the way, losing the ball and stuff like that. Once he does that, bro, we're in trouble. And you're all the way back here. You know what I mean? And even if we do get the ball up there, we was just doing long balls, hoofs, all the time. Remember, that's really long ball, long ball, long. I'm just like, bro, come on, man. Like, are we going to play better football than this? Like, we must. But listen, it is what it is. I don't want to go too far into it anyway. Like I said, there were just a few things that I wanted to kind of chop up and kind of take a look at. I would love everybody else's thoughts in regards to one, the game, but also just in a general sense, in terms of how you guys kind of saw, everything, in terms of the players, the team. What did you like? What didn't you like? Are there certain things that you feel Liverpool need to work on? Like one thing that I always see here is that bare people always say, obviously, once we get Isak in, then we're gonna start balling. And I'm like, are we though? Like, are we really gonna start balling out like that? Like, does it work like that? That Isak coming in is gonna be the reason as to why Liverpool all of a sudden just start playing this like fantastic football? I don't really believe that that's gonna happen. I'll be honest with you. I really don't believe that that is gonna just change automatically because Isak is here. From what I'm seeing, Liverpool are still playing the same way, just with different personnel. Now, whether that maybe looks a bit better on the eye every now and again, fair enough. But I just thought that we would play better football. And I think that was my only disappointment coming out of that game, is that the football doesn't look to be any better. You've just changed the personnel within that kind of football. If that's the case, then we'll just have to wait and see. And hopefully, over time throughout the season, that will then start to change. But we've got other games before the season starts. But I always feel like with Liverpool, how we start is usually how we mean to go on. And then what I say by that is the way that we're playing now and stuff like that. I feel like that's what we're going to do anyway come the first game of the season. I don't think it's going to change that much more. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be that much different in terms of when we start the season. But listen, we'll wait and see, man. Let me know your thoughts, people. And as I said, I'm going to try and bring you this after every game, if I possibly can. During the season, it will be a live, so obviously we can chop it up, and you guys can kind of give me your thoughts live here on air and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll have like the tactics boards and things like that, kind of popping up. But this was just more kind of like a match reaction, if you want to call it that, just because it's pre-season. But taking a look at little bits and bobs. So yeah, you guys stay tuned. Obviously, next one will be, I believe, after the Athletic Bilbao game. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, people, in regards to today's game. And let me know what else you want me to kind of throw into these kind of G's journal. If there's anything else you feel like I should, kind of touch upon within that. But I'll catch you guys soon on the next one. Peace.